year gives you the better deal. Okay? What I mean is, the statute talks about looking back 2 years to give people time to buy a new home and to look for a new home. If we had a house that had a capped amount, and this was happening a lot as values were declining, they had a cap amount in 2009 of $200,000. And then in 2010, the cap amount, because of declining values, went down to $150,000. And then the next year, they bought a new home, and they wanted me to go back 2 years and use the $200,000. That's not an option. The affordability amount is based on the most recent year that you had the homestead, but you can take that forward for 2 years. Two people who own a house together, who part ways, can split that cap amount. But if it's a divorce, they don't have to. Okay? There was a change in the law this year that you should know about. I wouldn't suggest you try to do calculations for people. I really wouldn't, but I suggest you be aware of it so they're informed. And what that law says is, if two people have homestead together, whether they're a husband and wife or just two people, you and I own a house together. Okay? Cool. As tenants in common, 50-50 ownership, and we decided to sell that house, and we're each going to go buy our own homestead. You would get 50%, and I would get 50% of the cap amount to take to our new homestead. But we can agree to make that split something other than 50-50 if we want to, if we put it in writing, if we come into the property appraiser's office and file for homestead with a form that shows the percentage that we agreed upon. Where that might become interesting is in some divorce cases. Now that cap numbers will build back up, I attended a meeting yesterday with a bunch of family law lawyers, and I said, I'm really surprised, even though the market's been declining, we've always had houses capped. And typically what happens is the spouse who keeps the home, keeps the whole cap, the homestead continues, and the spouse who has to leave and has to give up their rights to the home goes and gets a new home, and they don't get to court a thing. The only way they get portability is if cap comes off the mutually shared homestead, and then it can be split between them. Part of it can be put right back on that homestead, and part of it can be put on the departed spouse's new homestead. But the departed spouse can't come in and do that on his or her own. It has to be both spouses, even if they're ex-spouses. The one who received the homestead in the settlement has to go along with it. There's nothing, there's no, I don't get to decide. And I don't want to decide. I got little alligators nipping at my hind end when I get in the middle of that. But anyway, be advised that cap benefit can be split. Okay? And sometimes, you get in the middle of the messiness of people's lives sometimes. I know that you do. And just be aware that that's a possibility. There really weren't any other changes to the law this